You toss out bread the moment it grows a little fuzz. Medieval peasants? They stored theirs for 6 months, and it stayed perfect. They weren't lucky. They understood food science we've almost completely forgotten. And they did it without refrigerators, chemicals, or electricity. Ever wonder how your grandmother's ham could hang in a basement all winter without morphing into a biology project? Medieval Europeans had the answer. They mastered the art of making food last, using nothing but nature, patience, and an astonishing amount of ingenuity. Let's start with the tastiest preservation method they perfected: smoking. Smoking, the flavor that saved lives. Medieval cooks didn't just wave meat over a fire and hope for the best. They engineered smokehouses so skillfully that modern pitmasters would cry into their brisket. Smoke is loaded with natural compounds that act like bouncers, keeping harmful bacteria from ever stepping foot in your food. But the brilliance came from their two distinct techniques: hot smoking, a fast, 160 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit blast that cooked and preserved meat at the same time. You got dinner and a longer shelf life in one shot. Cold smoking, the marathon, below 90 degrees Fahrenheit for days or weeks. It required more patience than a saint, but produced meats that lasted months, sometimes longer than the marriages of the people smoking them. Here's the twist. That smoky flavor didn't just taste good. It was a disguise. If meat started getting ideas around the edges, the smoke masked the early funk better than teen deodorant masks gym clothes. Entire economies were built on smoked fish, especially in England and Scandinavia, where perfectly smoked herring traveled hundreds of miles without spoiling. It was the medieval equivalent of a protein subscription box. Too much smoke, though? Even Vikings complained, and those men didn't complain. Salt, the snowstorm that saved civilizations. Before refrigerators, salt was treasure. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid in it, hence, worth your salt. Medieval people learned that salting meat was like hitting the bacterial kill switch. Salt pulls moisture out of meat faster than a toddler pulls stickers off furniture. And without water, bacteria can't hold their little spoiler parties. Butchers buried meat in salt until it looked like winter had come early. After days or weeks, the result was tough, dry, intensely salty, but nearly indestructible. Salted beef fueled ocean voyages that lasted months. One failed batch meant starvation at sea. No pressure. The French dominated this craft. Their coastal salt marshes turned them into curing royalty. French salted ham became legendary. People traveled for days just to taste it. But there was absolutely zero room for error. Too little salt. Rot city. Too much chewable bricks. And yet, these techniques survived. That prosciutto you paid $20 for? It's basically medieval technology. Pickling. Medieval science in a barrel. Forget the trendy jars your hipster neighbor brags about. Medieval pickling was chemistry, culture, survival, and honestly, genius. Vinegar became their secret weapon. Acid is a bacterial nightmare. Medieval cooks weren't just dunking veggies in vinegar. They crafted brines with precise salt ratios, herbs, and timing that would shame most modern recipes. Sauerkraut wasn't a quirky side dish. It was medicine, vitamin C, and winter survival. Germans perfected it centuries before anyone said probiotic. Pickled foods even got better with travel. While bread turned to rocks and meat went rogue, pickled veggies stayed crisp and reliable. Merchants practically lived on barrels of the stuff. Drying, using the sun as a preservation machine. When smoking wasn't possible and salt was expensive, medieval people turned to the sun. They dried everything: grapes, plums, apples, herbs, mushrooms, fish, and meat strips tougher than a knight's boots. Drying is deceptively simple. Remove water, kill bacteria, but the execution required finesse. Over-dry it, and it was like chewing leather. Under-dry it? Moldy disaster. Still, dried food was a miracle of versatility. A handful of dried peas or onions tossed into a stew brought life back to winter meals. Herbs grew more potent as they dried. Even wine-soaked dried fruits existed. Yes, medieval people invented luxury trail mix. Fermentation, the accidental superfood factory. Here's where medieval ingenuity gets almost magical. They fermented everything. Not for flavor, not for fun, but because it protected them from illness, and sometimes water. Water was often unsafe, so ale became the everyday drink. Monks perfected brewing to a sacred art, creating ales, meads, cheeses, and concoctions still admired today. Fermentation was the invisible guardian. Good bacteria pushed out bad bacteria, turning food stable, safe, and often more nutritious. Cheese became the crown jewel of fermentation, crafted with skill that defies belief, considering they had no thermometers, no pH stri,